Okay, now that we have studied parallel lines, let's take a look at perpendicular lines. At the end of this video, you will be able to recognize if two lines are perpendicular and then to write an equation of a line perpendicular to another line. So again, we will be discussing more about perpendicular lines in class. So this is just kind of the down and dirty of perpendicular lines. All right, perpendicular lines, spell it correctly here, have slopes. So we're just going to be referring to perpendicular lines and their slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Okay, so hopefully you get that spelled right. So perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. What does that mean? Opposite reciprocals are, they're going to have slopes that are at right angles to each other. If one is if the slope of one is positive 5, then the other one is going to be negative 1/5, and we will discuss that. So here are perpendicular lines. If I draw a line that goes this way, my perpendicular line is going to go this way. Notice that perpendicular lines cross at right angles, and that would be more of a geometric description and definition of it, but we will in algebra be comparing their slopes. So you'll notice the slope of this one probably is maybe negative is 1, and notice the slope of this line, if it's perpendicular, it's going the other way, so it would have a slope of negative 1. Okay, if I were to write two equations, I'm just going to write the two equations and then show you why that is. Okay, so if I looked at these ones, I'm comparing the slopes again. Here's the slope of the first line, here's the slope of the second line. Their slopes are opposite reciprocals. So if I took 2/3, there's two things that I do with it. I take 2/3, I flip it to make it 3/2, and then I take the opposite of it. So if the 2/3 is positive, then my opposite reciprocal slope will be negative because they have to go in opposite directions. All right, so let's take a look at a few examples. Let's write equations of two lines that are perpendicular. Again, I can start with any line I want. Let's just say, we'll start with the negative. Let's say y equals negative 2x plus 3. All right, so I'm going to circle that slope. So I know in order to be perpendicular, I have to find the opposite reciprocal slope. So I'm going to come over here. That slope is negative 2/1. Okay, so to transform it, we're going to take the reciprocal, which is to flip it, and it's going to make it 1/2. And then the opposite of negative 2 would be positive. So this would be my new slope. So the slope of my new line is going to be 1/2 x. And then I can put whatever I want. I could put +3, I could put +8, I think I'm going to put -4. And it doesn't matter. The slopes are perpendicular, equations are perpendicular because they have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Okay, so if we look at recognizing whether two lines are perpendicular, we need to compare their slopes. So for number 2, it says line A has a slope of y equals 5x minus 3. And then line B has an equation y equals 3 minus 5x. First of all, I need to circle their slopes so I can compare them. Line A has a slope of 5 because it's what's right in front of the x. And line B has a slope that is negative 5. All right. First of all, I do notice that they are opposites, which is great. All right, but then I say, are they reciprocals? If this one was 5/1, the reciprocal would be 1/5, and that is not the case. So they're opposites, but not reciprocals. So when it said, are the two lines perpendicular, we would say, no, they are not. All right, so the next one we have line A, y equals 3x minus 1, and line B, y equals 4 minus 1/3 x. Again, I'm going to circle my slopes, and they're always, I just tried to write them backwards a little bit just so you get into the habit of it's just the number in front of the x. And now I'm going to look, are they opposite reciprocals? Number 1, yes, they are opposites, so that's good. And then are they reciprocals? If this one was 3/1, if I flip it, it will become 1/3. And yes, it is. So they are opposite and reciprocal. So I would say a big yes on that one. Okay, so that was the first learning target. The second learning target is to actually write an equation of a line perpendicular to another line. So here we go. The example says to write an equation of the line that passes through the given point and is perpendicular to the given line. And you'll notice these problems look very familiar to the ones in the parallel video. We're just going perpendicular this time. So I'm going to circle, I can find my pen, there we go. I'm going to circle the word perpendicular just to know we're not doing parallel, we're doing perpendicular. So basically we've got the line y equals 5x minus 3, and we want to find a line that's perpendicular. So 5x minus 3 is going this way. We want to find a line that's going that way, but it goes through the point negative 1, 4. So here is how we are going to find it. So I'm going to circle the slope in this one. I know if my line is perpendicular, to get my new slope, first of all, I have to make it opposite. So if it was 5, now it's negative. And then this would have been 5 over 1. So if I flip it, it's now negative 1/5. All right. And so now we are ready to go ahead and find my equation. I'm going to label my x and my y. Again, I like to just cross off that equation because I don't need to refer to it anymore. So I'm going to have y minus y sub 1 equals m x minus x sub 1, and I'm ready to plug things in. I'm going to have y minus, my y value will be 4, and then m we just established was negative 1/5, and then my x is x minus negative 1. Alrighty, then from here I'm going to have y minus 4 is equal to, whoops, I'm going to change those to positives. I'm going to have negative 1/5 times x is going to be negative 1/5 x, and then negative 1/5 times 1 will be negative 1/5. We won't be afraid that that's a fraction, no biggie. All right, and then to finish it, we're going to go ahead and add 4. So I'll get y equals negative 1/5 x, and then negative 1/5 plus 4 will be 3 4/5. And if you were not sure about that, you could go ahead and let your calculator handle that for you. Alrighty, problem number 5. Our line is now going to go through the point 2, negative 3 and be perpendicular to y equals negative 2/3 x plus 7. So y equals negative 2/3 x plus 7 is a line that goes this way. So we actually want to find a line that is perpendicular to it. So we're looking for this line right here. So we're going to look at the slope, which would be negative 2/3. And our slope is going to be perpendicular. So we're going to have opposites. So if this one's negative, ours is going to be positive. And then the flip of 2 over 3 would be 3 over 2. So that's our new slope. I'm going to cross off that line, label my x and my y, write my equation, and then I'm going to be good to go. So I'm going to have y minus, my y value is negative 3, my slope is 3/2, x minus, my x is 2. So now I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So that will be y plus 3 equals 3/2 times x is 3/2 x. And then 3/2 times negative 2 is actually negative 3. All right, and then from here, just to finish it, we'll have minus 3 minus 3. I'll get y equals 3/2 x minus 6. And then that would be my equation. All righty. So from the number 6, you know it's your turn. So I'm going to let you go ahead and pause the video, give your best shot, and then come on back and see how you did. If you're absolutely confused, again, just try your best and then come back and watch most of it. All right. So welcome back. Alrighty, so we need to, first of all, in this problem, find our slope, which we know is perpendicular. So I'm going to circle my slope. So my new slope of the line I'm going to find, the opposite of negative is a positive. And then if I have 3 over 1, the reciprocal of that would be 1/3. So I just did all sorts of fractions this time, didn't I? Yikes. Okay, so then we've got our x and our y. I have y minus y sub 1 equals m x minus x sub 1. Let's plug stuff in. Y minus, my y value is 7. My m is 1/3. X minus my x is 5. So here we go. I have y minus 7 equals 1/3 x minus 1/3 times 5. Your calculator would definitely give you 1 2/3 for that one. And then just to finish up, we will add 7. So I'll get y equals 1/3 x. And then if you do negative 1 2/3 plus 7, you will get 5 1/3. So hopefully you got that answer. And so hopefully now you are able to recognize if two lines are perpendicular and also to write an equation of a line that's perpendicular to another one.